Hello, YouTube, and Merry Christmas to everyone in the world. I hope everyone's doing well and staying safe, and most importantly, staying calm. Today, we'll be hopefully, finishing the second chapter of Zecharia Sitchin's The 12th Planet. So, today we have starting at page 33. Bitumens were also used in Sumerian medicine, another field where the standards were impressively high. The hundreds of Akkadian texts that have been found employ Sumerian medical terms and phrases extensively, pointing to the Sumerian origin of all Mesopotamian medicine. The library of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh included a medical section. The texts were divided into three groups: Boltitu, which is quoted as therapy; Shapir Val It Imti, which is quoted for surgery; and Urti Masheshi, which is quoted as commands and incantations. Early law codes included sections dealing with fees payable to surgeons for successful operations and penalties to be imposed on them in case of failure. A surgeon using a lancet to open a patient's temple was to lose his hand if he accidentally destroyed the patient's eye. Some skeletons found in Mesopotamian graves bore unmistakable marks of brain surgery. A partially broken medical text speaks of the surgical removal of a shadow covering a man's eye, probably a cataract. Another text mentions the use of a cutting instrument, stating that if the sickness has reached the inside of the bone, you shall scrape and remove. Sick persons in Sumerian times could choose between the Azu, spelled A.ZU, and it's quoted as water physician, and in IA.ZU for Ayazu, which is quoted for oil physician. A tablet excavated in Ur, nearly 5,000 years old, names a medical practitioner as Lulu the doctor. There were also veterinarians known either as doctors of oxen or as doctors of asses. A pair of surgical tongs is depicted on a very early cylinder seal found at Lagash that belonged to Urlagaladina, the doctor. That was kind of hard to pronounce, everyone, so please excuse me. The seal also shows the serpent on a tree, the symbol of medicine to this day. An instrument that was used by midwives to cut the umbilical cord was also frequently depicted. Sumerian medical texts deal into diagnosis and prescriptions. They leave no doubt that the Sumerian physician did not resort to magic or sorcery. He recommended cleaning and washing, soaking in baths of hot water and mineral solvents, application of vegetable derivatives, rubbing with petroleum compounds. Medicines were made from plant and mineral compounds and were mixed with liquids or solvents appropriate to the method of application. If taken by mouth, the powders were mixed into wine, beer, or honey. If poured through the rectum, administered in an enema, they were mixed with plant or vegetable oils. Alcohol, which plays such an important role in surgical disinfection and as a base for many medicines, reached our languages through the Arabic kohl, spelled Kohl, from the Akkadian kulu, Kuhlu. Models of livers indicate that medicine was taught at medical schools with the aid of clay models of human organs. Anatomy must have been an advanced science, for temple rituals called for elaborate dissections of sacrificial animals, only a step removed from comparable knowledge of human anatomy. Several depictions on cylinder seals or clay tablets show people laying on some kind of surgical table surrounded by teams of gods or people. We know from epics and other heroic texts that the Sumerians and their successors in Mesopotamia were concerned with matters of life, sickness, and death. Men like Gilgamesh, a king like Eric, sought the tree of life or some mineral, a stone, that could provide eternal youth. There are also references to efforts to resurrect the dead, especially if they happen to be gods. This is an excerpt from one of the translations on one of them seals. Upon the corpse hung from the pole, they directed the pulse and the radiance, 60 times the water of life, 60 times the food of life. They sprinkled upon it, and Inanna rose. Were some ultra modern methods, about which we can only speculate, known and used in such revival attempts? That radioactive materials were known and used to treat certain ailments is certainly suggested by a scene of medical treatment depicted on a cylinder seal dating to the very beginning of Sumerian civilization. It shows without question a man lying on a special bed. His face is protected by a mask, and he is being subjected to some kind of radiation. One of Sumer's earliest material achievements was the development of textile and clothing industries. Our own industrial revolution is considered to have commenced with the introduction of spinning and weaving machines in England in the 1760s. Most developing nations have aspired ever since to develop a textile industry as the first step toward industrialization. The evidence shows that this has been the process not only since the 18th century, but ever since man's first great civilization. Man could not have made woven fabrics before the advent of agriculture, which provided him with flax and the domestication of animals, creating a source for wool. Grace M. Crowfoot, in the excerpt from Textiles, Basketry, and Mats in Antiquity, expressed from the scholastic census by stating that the textile weaving appeared first in Mesopotamia around 3800 BC. Sumer, moreover, was renowned in ancient times not only for its woven fabrics, but also for its apparel. The book of Joshua 7:21 reports that during the storming of Jericho, a certain person could not resist the temptation to keep one good coat of Shinar, which he had found in the city, even though the penalty was death. So highly prized were the garments of Shinar, or Sumer, that people were willing to risk their lives to attain them. A rich terminology already existed in Sumerian times to describe both items of clothing and their makers. The basic garment was called tug, without doubt the forerunner in style as well as the name of the Roman toga. Such garments were tug to she, which in Sumerian meant garment which is worn wrapped around. The ancient depictions reveal not only an astonishing variety of opulence in matters of clothing, but also elegance in which good taste and coordination among clothes, hairdos, headdresses, and jewelry prevailed. Another major Sumerian achievement was its agriculture. In land with only seasonal rains, the rivers were enlisted to water year-round crops through a vast system of irrigation canals. Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers, was a veritable food basket in ancient times. The apricot tree, the Spanish word for which is Damasco, is the Damascus tree, bears the Latin name Armeniaca, a loan word from the Akkadian amanu, the cherry kerasos in Greek, Kirsche in German, originates from the Akkadian karshu. All the evidence suggests that these and other fruits and vegetables reached Europe from Mesopotamia. So did many special seeds and spices. Our word saffron comes from the Akkadian azupiranu, crocus from karkanu, via krokos in Greek, cumin from kamanu, hyssop from zupu, myrrh from muru. This list is long. In many instances, Greece provided the physical and etymological bridge by which these products of the land reached Europe. Onions, lentils, beans, cucumbers, cabbage, and lettuce were common ingredients of the Sumerian diet. What is equally impressive is the extent and variety of the ancient Mesopotamian food preparation methods, their cuisine. Texts and pictures confirm the Sumerian knowledge of converting the cereals they had grown into flour, from which they made a variety of leavened and unleavened breads, porridges, pastries, cakes, and biscuits. Barley was also fermented to produce beer. Technical manuals for beer production have been found among the texts. Wine was obtained from the grapes and from date palms. Milk was available from sheep, goats, and cows. It was used as a beverage for cooking and for converting into yogurt, butter, cream, and cheeses. Fish was a common part of the diet. Mutton was readily available, and the meat of pigs, which the Sumerians tended in large herds, was considered a true delicacy. Geese and ducks may have been reserved for the gods' tables. The ancient texts leave no doubt that the haute cuisine of ancient Mesopotamia developed in the temples and in the service of the gods. One text prescribed the offering to the gods of loaves of barley bread, loaves of emmer bread, a paste of honey and cream, dates, pastry, beer, wine, milk, cedar, sap, cream. Roasted meat was offered with libations of prime beer, wine, and milk. A specific cut of a bull was prepared according to a strict recipe calling for fine flour, made to a dough in water, prime beer, and wine, and mixed with animal fats, aromatic ingredients made from hearts of plants, nuts, malt, and spices. Instructions for the daily sacrifice to the gods of the city of Uruk called for the serving of 5 different beverages with the meals and specified what the millers in the kitchen and the chef working at the kneading trough should do. Our admiration for the Sumerian culinary art certainly grows as we come across poems that sing the praises of fine foods. Indeed, what can one say when one reads a millennia-old recipe for kuk alvin? In the wine of drinking, in the scented water, in the oil of unction, this bird have I cooked and have eaten. A thriving economy, a society with such extensive material enterprises could not have developed without an efficient system of transportation. The Sumerians used their 2 great rivers and the artificial network of canals for waterborne transportation of people, goods, and cattle. Some of the earliest depictions show what were undoubtedly the world's first boats. We know from many early texts that the Sumerians also engaged in deep water seafaring, using a variety of ships to reach faraway lands in search of metals, rare woods, and stones, and other materials unobtainable in Sumer proper. An Akkadian dictionary of the Sumerian language was found to contain a section on shipping, listing 105 Sumerian terms for various ships by their size, destination, or purpose, for cargo, for passengers, or for the exclusive use of certain gods. Another 69 Sumerian terms connected with the manning and construction of ships were translated into the Akkadian. Only a long seafaring tradition could have produced such specialized vessels and technical terminology. For overland transportation, the wheel was first used in Sumer. Its invention and introduction into daily life made possible a variety of vehicles from carts to chariots, and no doubt also granted Sumer the distinction of having been the first to employ ox power as well as horsepower for locomotion. In 1956, Professor Samuel N. Kramer, one of the great Sumerologists of our time, reviewed the literacy legacy found beneath the mounds of Sumer. The table of contents from the tables of Sumer is a gem in itself, for each one of the 25 chapters described a Sumerian first, including the first schools, the first bicameral congress, the first historian, the first pharmacopoeia, the first farmer's almanac, the first cosmogony and cosmology, the first job, the first proverbs and sayings, the first literary debates, the first Noah, the first library catalog, and man's first heroic age, his first law codes and social reforms, his first medicine, agriculture, and search for world peace and harmony. This is no exaggeration. The first schools were established in Sumer as a direct outgrowth of the invention and introduction of writing. The evidence, both archaeological, such as actual school buildings, and written, such as exercise tablets, indicates the existence of a formal system of education by the beginning of the 3rd millennium BC. There were literally thousands of scribes in Sumer, ranging from junior scribes to high scribes, royal scribes, temple scribes, and scribes who assumed high state office. Some acted as teachers at the schools, and we can still read their essays on the schools, their aims and goals, their curriculum, and teaching methods. The schools taught not only language and writing, but also the sciences of the day: botany, zoology, geography, mathematics, and theology. Literary works of the past were studied and copied, and new ones were composed. The schools were headed by the Ummiyah, expert professor. That's what they're quoting it as. And the faculty invariably included not only a man in charge of drawing and a man in charge of Sumerian, but also a man in charge of the whip. Apparently, discipline was strict. One school alumni described on a clay tablet how he had been flogged for missing school, for insufficient neatness, for loitering, for not keeping silent, for misbehaving, and even for not having neat handwriting. An epic poem dealing with the history of Erech concerns itself with the rivalry between Erech and the city-state of Kish. The epic text relates how the envoys of Kish proceeded to Erech, offering a peaceful settlement of their dispute, but the ruler of Erech at the time, Gilgamesh, preferred to fight rather than negotiate. What is interesting is that he had to put the matter to a vote in the assembly of the elders, the local senate. And they have it here, what he said. The Lord Gilgamesh, before the elders of his city put the matter, seeks out the decision. Let us not submit to the house of Kish. Let us smite it with weapons. And we're going to go ahead and stop there for today, folks, because we've got about 10 more pages left in the reading. And I think we've covered a decent amount as to basically gathering a general consensus of what's going on already. You know, but if anybody who's listening along, I do appreciate you, and I do appreciate it even more. Any questions, comments, suggestions, criticism, just whatever, guys. You know, just doing it not just for myself, but for pretty much anybody who don't have resources to go out and get books, don't have internet, you know what I mean? So, that being said, I hope everyone continues having a safe and calm and blessed day. And Merry Christmas, everyone.